Several people died and others were injured after hundreds of Palestinians desperate for food pushed and shoved to get into a United Nations warehouse. Aid seekers were seen carrying large bags of flour out of the building. Due to severe shortages of food and aid in Gaza, a single bag weighing around 25 kilos currently sells for almost €450. Palestinians in Gaza have been under a tight Israeli blockade, including an 11-week total block on critical supplies, which has pushed the Strip to the brink of famine. The World Food Programme has consistently warned for the deteriorating conditions on the ground and have called for an urgent aid scale-up. It comes just a day after Israeli troops fired at a crowd of Palestinians after they overwhelmed an aid distribution hub, killing several and injuring dozens. The hub had been opened by the US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, an organization that has been highly criticized by the UN, who refused to work with the scheme as they say it violates humanitarian principles.
Russia has proposed to hold a second round of direct peace negotiations with Ukraine. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov made the announcement on Wednesday. The announcement comes after Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan concluded a two-day trip to Moscow where he met with Lavrov and President Vladimir Putin.
Российская сторона, как и договаривались, оперативно разработала соответствующий меморандум, который излагает нашу позицию по всем аспектам надежного преодоления первопричин кризиса. Наша делегация во главе с Владимиром Мединским готова представить этот меморандум делегации Украины и дать необходимые пояснения в ходе второго раунда возобновленных прямых переговоров в Стамбуле в ближайший понедельник, 2 июня.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump says he's, quote, very disappointed with his Russian counterpart's decision to escalate fighting. He also stated that it will be clear to him soon whether Putin is sincerely looking for peace or not, as he warned of a potential shift in Washington's approach.
We're going to find out whether or not he's tapping us along or not. And if he is, we'll respond a little bit differently. But it'll take about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We have Mr. Witkoff is here, who's doing a phenomenal job, is dealing with them very strongly right now. They seem to want to do something, but until the document is signed, I can't tell you.
The Kremlin's proposal comes at a time of increased Russian bombardment of Ukraine and heightened tensions. Moscow says it's ready to end the war if Ukraine eliminates what it calls the root causes of the crisis.
This is a historic but also deeply painful moment for France. Former surgeon Joël Le Squarnec was sentenced to 20 years in prison, the maximum sentence in what is considered the country's largest child sex abuse trial. He's been dubbed the devil in a white coat, a predator that used his medical authority to rape or sexually assault 299 minors over the course of 25 years. Most of them were hospital patients, sedated, unconscious, and the average age was just 11 years old. Le Squarnec is already serving a 15-year sentence for earlier convictions and sex crimes. He has confessed to all of the assaults and even admitted to more, including abusing his own granddaughter. A new trial will therefore be expected in the future. But the victims say that this sentence is not enough. They're outraged that the court did not issue a post-release detention order. It's a rare and exceptional measure that would allow high-risk offenders to be held in a detention center after having served their sentence. To the victims, this is not the closure that they hoped for, but just another chapter of being ignored. They're now calling on French politicians to take responsibility. A meeting with the health minister is scheduled in the next 2 weeks, where survivors will ask for action and also recognition.
As the second round of the Polish presidential election nears, disinformation increasingly spreads. Targeting both candidates, Rafał Trzaskowski and Karol Nawrocki, so-called FIMI tools are commonly used. Foreign information manipulation and interference is then taken over by domestic entities.
Te narracje, które obserwujemy, są bardzo szerokie. One dotyczą m.in. wojny w Ukrainie, Ukraińców samych w sobie, uchodźców i uchodźczyń, kwestii związanych z Unią Europejską, ale też i takiej narracji o pokoju. To jest taka podstawowa narracja promowana przez Federację Rosyjską i nie tylko, bo też i Białoruś, które zakładają, że to one są, że tylko Rosja w jakimś sensie jest gwarantem pokoju i że Rosja dąży do pokoju.
Most fake news circulates on social media. These platforms remain leaky and enable the lightning-fast spread of false information. Experts point to two main operations: overload, bombarding users with an avalanche of information, and doppelganger, impersonating well-known media.
Czyli na przykład ostatnio pojawił się taki news o tym, że głosowanie pocztowe będzie skażone bronią biologiczną. Więc musimy spodziewać się tego typu ataków wręcz, prawda? Kiedy sobie scrollujemy, przeglądamy wiadomości, no to łatwo jest nie zauważyć, tak, że to logo Euronews czy jakiegokolwiek innego medium jest tylko dodane, tak, a materiał pochodzi z jakiegoś absolutnie przypadkowego konta, który chce wpłynąć na nas i na przykład zdemotywować, doprowadzić do tego, że nie będziemy głosować.
A study conducted at the American University in Bulgaria indicates that the Balkan countries and those of the former Soviet Union are most vulnerable to disinformation. Escalation of activities occurs before important events such as elections.
Civil society groups in Kosovo on Tuesday protested against the country's elected assembly's impasse with a symbolic demonstration in front of the parliament building in Pristina. The demonstration took place shortly before the 22nd attempt to convene a parliamentary session of the 9th Legislative Assembly failed. After the parliamentary elections of February, Kosovo still does not have a constituted elected assembly, raising questions of legality over the current government.
Kemi dorëzuar 17 kallëzime penale kundër kryeministrit, ish kryeministrit, në fakt, zotit Albin Kurti dhe ish ministrave të kabinetit të tij, duke përfshirë këtu edhe një ish zëvendësministre, të gjithë këta të zgjedhur deputet dhe të certifikuar sipas rezultatit zgjedhor nga Komisioni Qendror Zgjedhor me datën 27 mars. Ne konsiderojmë dhe besojmë që nga data 27 mars
Although Prime Minister Albin Kurti and members of his cabinet resigned from the executive positions ahead of the swearing-in of MPs, opponents argued that according to the law, members of his government cannot function on a technical mandate.
Kosova ka qeverinë në detyrë, unë jam kryeministër në detyrë, ajo çaj mungon Kosovës është kuvendi I ri Republikës.
Normalna situacija bi bila da oni uopšte nisu položili zakletvu za poslanike, nego da su nastavili da izvršavaju svoje dužnosti u izvršnoj vlasti, a da kasnije, zavisno od toga da li će da formiraju vlast ili ne, promene mesta u parlamentu.
Albin Kurti's self-determination movement continues to govern, with Kurti as acting prime minister.
Në këto takime janë marrë gjithsej 17 vendime nga një kabinet jo qeveritar I cili në përbërjen e tij ka pasur kryeministra dhe ministra që në kundërshtim me Nenin 72 të kushtetutës kanë prezantuar dhe kanë qenë pjesë e vendimarrjes.
In April, Kosovo's legislature swore in 120 lawmakers in parliament, but it failed twice to elect a new speaker, a process that's now taken the country into a prolonged legislative crisis.
The European Union identified China as a state actor responsible for a cyber attack campaign against Czechia. EU High Representative Kaja Kallas said Brussels will not tolerate those actions and they are ready to impose costs on Beijing.
Today, EU and NATO hold a Chinese state-backed actor responsible for malicious cyber campaign against the Czech Republic. This attack is unacceptable breach of international norms. The EU will not tolerate hostile cyber actions, and we stand in solidarity with the Czech Republic.
Yes. The hacking campaign against Czechia started in 2022 and mostly targeted the foreign ministry. China is yet to respond to the allegations.
Seven people died after a boat carrying migrants capsized while arriving to port on the Spanish Canary Islands. Spanish emergency services say the victims were 4 women and 3 young girls. The National Maritime Rescue Service says the boat tipped over as rescuers started removing young people onto a rescue craft positioned between the migrant boat and the quay. They added that the movement of people on the boat was what led it to turn over. Local media say the small boat was carrying more than 100 people. 2 other children, 1 boy and 1 girl, were airlifted with helicopters to nearby hospitals in serious condition after nearly drowning. The Spanish archipelago, located off Africa's western coast, has for years been a main route for migrants. Tens of thousands of migrants make the dangerous trip annually, risking their lives in dinghies and rubber boats unfit for long journeys in open sea. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez shared a message on social media expressing his sympathy and condolences, adding that the lives were lost in an attempt to find a better future. The Swiss village of Blatten has been partially destroyed after a massive chunk of the Birch Glacier avalanched down into the valley. Footage shows a thick brown sludge covering almost the entire village located in southern Switzerland. Officials had evacuated the village's 300 residents as well as all livestock earlier this month as a safety measure due to fears of the glacier disintegrating. Residents say around 90% of the village has been covered or destroyed. Authorities say a 64-year-old man was reported missing and search and rescue operations are underway.